Hey guys, I wanted to talk to you about brainwashing in the church. It's my favorite spot to hang out at. See, I'm on the paddle boats. They're not open for boating right now, but the boats are tied up. They're sitting out here, so I'm gonna sit on the boat. Hopefully nobody will say anything. Okay, so the brainwashing is real. This church I used to go to, I'm not going to mention the name because, I want to go all in. I want to go all in. So, this pastor recently divorced his wife. All right, for all I know, she could be another Micah Miller because he hasn't mentioned it yet. He hasn't said a doggone thing. People are still going to the church. And they're not asking questions. For all we know, he could have knocked her out and buried her under the church. Nobody's saying anything. Nobody's saying, where is she? Where's your wife? It's like the church knows how to brainwash people. And what they tell you is, oh, if you talk about it, you are gossiping. Is it gossiping to figure out what happened to your first lady? I mean, shouldn't somebody start digging around and trying to figure out what happened to her? My theory is homeboy's gonna end up with another woman, and he's trying to get his story together. He's trying to get his story together. See, it's a doggone shame. See, they're like in the third group of people. When they were on Garrett Road, that was one group. Most of that group stayed till the next location. And then, he introduced that perversion. Some people dropped out then, before he moved to the second location. And then, another church started, and most of the members left and went to the other church back in 2019. 2019, yeah, I think it was 2019. So, most of the seasoned church members left with this other minister when he started his church. So they were stuck with, the younger crowd. And now he has like a whole group of younger people who really didn't know, the other things that were going on. So it's just really interesting to watch. Now, this woman was with him for 33 years. His wife, the first lady. She was first lady for 33 years. So now she's gone. So when does the church stand up? When do church members stand up and say, where is your wife? We haven't seen your wife. Why is it a secret? Like, where do you think your tithe money's going? So I just went to another church, which is right across the street from that one. And they put their budget out there on the line. We're expecting $57 million in revenue next year. And this is what we plan on doing with it. And this is how much they didn't give the exact cash balance, but they said, we got exact amount of cash that we do of debt. So that's the way that is. So anyway, they're pretty much zero balance, okay? But at least they're telling you what they're doing with the money. But this other church, the pastor founded the church. He doesn't answer to anybody. The only way anybody can speak up is if they just stop tithing, ask questions, or walk out. And so far, I haven't heard of people doing that because, I got an inside track and they're telling me he's preaching like nothing happened. He's just following a script. He's following a script and not even addressing his wife. So like I said, she could be buried in the basement. She could be buried in the basement. She could be another Micah Miller. And this is how Micah Millers happen in the church. This is how things like this happen in the church. This is how pastors can bump off their wives and then nobody does anything about it, because you're seeing things happen and you're sitting there like a bump on a log because you're under mind control. There's a lot of mind control that happens in the church. For the first thing they tell you, first they program you to believe that the pastor knows more about you than you do. He has this special relationship with God that you can never have, and you must basically bow to him. And then the pastors, they use the husbands in the church to lock people in. So now they're telling the women to shut up. They use the men to lord over the women and shut the women down. And usually it's the women tied in the most money into the church. Ladies, you all are supporting that pimp lifestyle of your pastor. So if your money is going into this church and the money's being used for him to cheat on his wife, if the money's being used for him to take another man's wife, if the money's being used to for him to stockpile land and stuff for himself while he begs for money for a project to build in the city that he's in, when he used to bring in 6 figures in a Sunday, but now he's begging for money to build this park over here. When do you start asking questions? Like, duh, y'all can't be this stupid. But yeah, a lot of church people are. And I said, well, maybe it's a black thing. Nah, white people fall into cults too, where they just follow the leader. They just follow the leader. But they got a hierarchy. They have to work through a hierarchy. First is the pastor, and then the pastors make the men feel special, the husbands feel special, and then the husbands keep the wives in check. And then next thing you know, they have free reign to do whatever they want to do. Yeah, they got free reign to do whatever they want to do, and nobody questions them. Nobody questions them whatsoever. And this church, I took my last video down, and like I said, I'm not going to mention the church name, but it's in Durham, North Carolina, and it's a pretty large church in Durham, North Carolina. How this pastor ends up sandwiched between 2 ministers that were corrupt. The first minister being Carlton Pearson, who ended up being a heretic and saying there is no hell, and then the second one being T.D. Jakes, who has been caught in scandal after scandal after scandal with P. Diddy, and being called a power bottom. How do you associate yourself with these 2 pastors? Like, you got your own father in ministry that you could have been working under, but no, you had to go find somebody else. Oh my gosh. And I'm sure your daddy trying to correct you, and maybe he got issues, but he's been in the game a lot longer. He's your daddy. He's your daddy. And his church is still thriving, so he knows he's doing something right. And then when he preached in your church, you went right behind him and told him you don't really believe everything he believes. Okay, but are the principles correct? Does he believe in the Bible? Yeah, and how do you preach one thing and then live something completely different? And how do y'all people in church figure it's okay to sit up under a man that's preaching one thing and doing the opposite? It sounds like Zachary Timms. Zachary Timms was in church preaching, great word. That's the one that looked just like Will Smith. He had little freckles on his face though, and he ended up being found in a hotel where he died. He had overdosed. But yeah, it's like these men, they power trip over their wives, and they think, oh, I'm your covering. I can just throw you away and go get another wife. When really it's the wife that's covering for the husband. Okay, in a whole lot of different ways. Maybe she's the beard. Maybe his wife was his beard. Because usually when you find a man that's so into his looks and so into sexual perversion, the regular sex just gets boring. So now they gotta try something creative, and that's where the all the perversion comes in. But yeah, I just said that because it's just really weird how people are not really talking about this. I mean, online, people should be talking about this. This is crazy. This dude had like the largest growing church in Durham, North Carolina. All the other pastors were kind of jealous of him. And, yeah, but it ain't gonna last that much longer, because when my son was operating in the prophetic, he saw the church being torn down and rebuilt 7 different times. And after the 7th time, he said they couldn't rebuild. I predict that this guy, and I'm not prophesying because I'm not a prophet. I'm not calling myself that anyway. If this happens, you know, whatever. But this guy, when the fire gets too hot, he gonna pack up and move his church. He gonna say God called him to another area. He gonna end up with a new wife, and he gonna start a whole nother church in a different area. That's what he's gonna do. He done milked y'all clean, and he gonna go to another region and start over, because he knows he can. Because there's a lot more people out there just like y'all that's gonna support him. But no, I can't talk. Or I should say I can talk, because my family was a part of that church. And you know, I was just happy that my husband was going to church with me, because for a while he stopped going to church with me. Unfortunately, it was for the wrong reason that he was going to church with me. It's whatever was on that pastor. I guess he was excited because there was a black man in power. And no matter, when a black man sees another black man prospering and in power, it doesn't matter what that guy does. You can't say anything about it. He won't say anything about it. He doesn't want anybody else to say anything about it, because they're just so happy that a black man is prospering. Even though that man ain't doing nothing. He ain't putting no money in your pocket. He just giving you a dog and pony show. But he ain't putting no money in your pocket. None. You still over there struggling. And this guy living it up. Oh, but don't talk about him because he black. But you broke. I'm telling you, the brainwashing is real. The brainwashing that black people do with each other is so real. Okay? That's why people are slinging mud about this politics, because black people want other black people to support this lady running for president who claims she's black, but she's not. The only thing she's missing is the red dot on her head and the Punjabi. Or the sari. You know what I'm trying to say. That's all she missing. Okay? So she came over here. Her people came over here from another country, took advantage of all the minority benefits, and then as soon as she made it to the top, she gave all the migrants your benefits. She took all the money out of the hood and she gave it to the migrants, who aren't black, by the way. Okay? And trust me, when they get in power, they are not going to give you a dime. Y'all are just like, you just keep falling for the same stuff over and over and over and over and over again. I'm like, are black people really that brainwashed? Yes.